Good afternoon. I'm Tonya Arnesen, Senior Pastor of Jackson First United Methodist Church. And this is Food for Thought for Wednesday, July the 22nd. I'm going to note to you that I am pre-recording these messages as I prepare for some vacation time, which I much need right now. Today I'm going to be sharing with you, and today in the next couple times, I'm going to be sharing with you some more of these wonderful parables from David Griebner's book, The Carpenter and the Unbuilder. Today's selection is called My Salvation and Yours. Once there was a woman who made stained glass windows for a living. Now, I know what you are thinking, but she didn't make the kind of windows that had people in them or scenes from the Bible. Instead, her delight was in the color of the glass. She had a special gift for putting colors together, so they worked mostly with large pieces and wonderfully colored glass, which she arranged beautifully. She was satisfied, and so were her customers. Then one night she had a dream that would change everything. In her dream, it felt as if someone spoke to her and seemingly placed an order. Make me a window of my salvation and yours. When she woke up, she remembered the dream for a few minutes, and as we often do, then she forgot it. However, the dream returned the next night. Make me a window of my salvation and yours. Soon she was having this dream every night. Thus, even though she didn't understand the request exactly, she decided to make a window for the sake of a good night's sleep. She wondered where to begin. She decided to do what she did best. She gathered some beautiful pieces of stained glass, arranged them in a way that seemed right to her, and leaded the whole thing together. She went to sleep that night, expecting to be left alone. She was not. Make me a window of my salvation and of yours. She walked toward her studio the next morning, uncertain what to do now. Should she make another window? Move to another town? See a psychologist, maybe? Then her thoughts were interrupted by what she saw when she opened the door. Her beautiful window had somehow tipped over and shattered on the concrete floor. How? Now what? Is this the way the dream came back? She sat there for a few moments looking at the fragments of her window. Then, despite her resistance and uncertainty, she picked up the piece of broken glass and another and another. Somehow she could see how these pieces went together even more beautifully now that they had become smaller. She worked through the day, and by evening she had a new window. While it was the same glass as before, now there were many more pieces and much more detail. In fact, the window contained more pieces than she had ever worked with before. She was happy with her work, and she went to sleep exhausted. Surely this window was enough, she thought. But she was wrong. The same voice as before unsettled her sleep. Make me a window of my salvation and yours. Weary and angry, she stayed away from her studio all the next morning. When she finally opened the door after lunch, a sight greeted her that she almost expected. Her latest window was in pieces on the floor, far more pieces than the last time. Fighting despair and the urge to run away, she cradled her head in her hands and peered out at the broken glass through the space between her fingers. After several painful and uncertain moments, she tenderly reached out with one hand and put two pieces of glass together, then another. It took her longer than a day to make a window this time. There were so many pieces and so many ways to arrange them. Oddly enough, while she was working on this window, her dreams were silent. This silence left her hopeful. Finally, her latest window was done as well. The pieces of glass were so small it was almost mosaic, and it was beautiful. She hadn't imagined that she was capable of creating such beauty. Surely now her dreams would be silent. But it wasn't to be. The very night after she finished, she heard again, "Make me a window of my salvation and yours." So it went. She made window after window. Every one was broken in its turn, each time into smaller and smaller pieces. Thus, each subsequent window became more and more detailed, etched with subtler and subtler shades of color and beauty and wonder. In a way, she became accustomed to the dream and to breaking down and the building up. Then one day she died. Her friends found her in her studio. Next to her was a pile of tiny slivers of glass. They left the pile undisturbed, closed. They left the pile undisturbed, closed the studio, and locked the door. But on the day of her funeral, a great wind broke through the window of the place, swept up that pile of fine glass, and cast it into the sky, where it ignited in the sun like a million rainbows. At her funeral, some said they heard a voice say, "Well done," just as the preacher finished the prayer. My brothers and sisters, we put together our lives in the best way we know how. And oftentimes we want to use the big pieces that are easy and that come together with little reflection or care. And in some ways, those big pieces can be beautiful. But in some ways, we find that when we are broken and when we are brought back together, somehow the richness and the beauty of our lives becomes more apparent, and somehow the sun shines through us in more magnificent ways. For in the brokenness and then the putting back together, our Creator does good and beautiful work. I hope that you will be blessed today. Take stock of those broken places of your life and give them up to God to use as God chooses. Somehow God can make beautiful things happen in and through you if you simply relinquish yourself, all of the pieces, to our Creator. Be blessed, be well, and know you are beloved. Amen.